Good morning. Yes, it's bright and early, and it's about 7:23 a.m. Sunday, and I've been up now for about 3 hours. Yes, I've been up for a while. Well, I have been watching a video. The video was created by the Farsight Institute. They're an institute that teaches what's called remote viewing. A couple of days ago, I think I mentioned that organization and that they're going to have this film. They document some of their sessions. And so I just completed watching the show about 20 minutes ago. I was just processing the information. I really enjoyed it. It was for about almost 3 hours long, and it had 3 different people doing the remote sessions and how they relate to each other. Now, each person is doing their session in different locations and possibly different time. Each 3, they do not know what each other is doing. So they have no influence on what they experience in the remote viewing session. And what they were to target, the basic question, like the first one was regarding the book of Revelation in the Bible, in the Old Testament. It's the last chapter of last book of the Bible as we know it today. The Old and the New Testament. And it's in the New Testament, and it's the last book, and it's called the book of Revelation, or it's known by that. And I think it's chapter 12 in the book of Revelation. And it gives reference to, and there was a war in heaven or in the heavens. And so the director of the Farsight Institute wanted to do a research on that, what they were referring to. And it, according to the remote viewing sessions, that it was regarding a war that actually happened, and it was out in space. And each of the stories, the 3 people, the stories seem to be saying the same thing. Some people might make mention of one thing, and another person, like as if you're getting an eyewitness to an event that happens. Let's say a car accident, and you have witnesses, and they're all telling the same story, but they might see different components of that incident. So that's what was going on. And there were 3 components, but where did this take place? That they were wondering whether the first description was this location on planet Mars or in its vicinity. And so then each of the 3 people give their account of what happened. And it seemed to suggest that, yes, during that time in the book, what the book of Revelation gives mention to, that at that time of that incident, that what was going on in Mars was identical, And I thought it was interesting when they were talking about the people involved and how you had, again, about different sizes. It seemed like, I remember what the second question was. They talked about, like also in the book of Revelation, the prophet and them relating what was going on. And they were wondering how in human histories you have different societies, but they seem to all be saying the same type of story. And so they want to know the originator of these stories. And I thought that was really, really interesting. Really interesting. Like the person, it's really something. See, I used to be into the Bible, and my favorite book, one of two of my favorite books of the Bible is the book of Revelation and Genesis. That's the first book of the Bible. And so I could relate to those stories. But how you had this, one of them was described as like a prophet type person, but they were being directed. They weren't self-directed, and that was what was really interesting about the story. That prophet or priestly person, special person, their mind was being tapped into by some other being that was giving him that information. Some people call it channeling. Like today you have people, they go in a trance, and then they communicate with someone, or sometimes some people get really, what they call possession, that their mind isn't there. Like there's interference, something from outside is disturbing their thought process, and they look like they're going crazy. So here you have someone from outside tapping into the mind of somebody else, and then that someone else directs the peoples that he lives among. And each of the beings were like males. The ones in charge were male figures. No female figures are being put in these leadership type of position. And I thought what else was interesting about this was the size. So I think that's what I'm going to say about the size. So the so-called greater being, the one that seems to be orchestrating this information, was very, very big. They mentioned how big and a lot of presence this person had. And then this so-called prophet was smaller, considerably smaller. And I think the people that he's ministering to are even smaller. So it seems like to be a hierarchy. And it seems to fit. Like you look in like Egypt, ancient Egypt, the structures there. It's like by those big structures, like the people that are sitting on like those stone figures, and they're sitting down on thrones. See how big they are? I just thought, like, people in those days just like big things, But now I'm thinking that they were made big because the people were really big. And that as you go down the ladder of so-called importance, they get smaller and smaller. And then you look at today, modern planet Earth. You have all different types of people, all different beaches, but you really notice, like, you have people today, over social media, and they discuss about these, we'll call extraterrestrials, or they might channel into other dimensions, and you see these big people, and but they have like an intelligence in them, a knowledge. They look one way, and then the so-called lowly type people are always smaller. Or you heard about what they call the grays, that you have the big ones, and then you have the real tiny ones. Seems like what seems to be synonymous with the video that I was just watching, that they too indicate that they were little gray-like people, that what we call the grays, the real tiny ones. But they don't seem to have a mind of their own, very robotic. I mean, they have, flesh and blood, so to speak, but there's something mechanical or robotic about them. And I noticed with the whole subject with extraterrestrials, the secret space program, and Steve Greer's reports that these little gray people or beings, again, are very robotic. And it's said that these are created beings by the tall ones that look something like them. So it seems like the intelligent, so-called intelligent, or the big ones, are able to make a replica of themselves, but they make sure they make them smaller than themselves and weaker than themselves, so that they can always control them. So that's using wisdom too. You don't make something that could be smarter than yourself and stronger than yourself. You don't want that, But it's making me think more and more that the whole subject of what we know today as UFOs, I think there's something to it. But again, they could be humans who can tap into certain technologies and distort what you see to make you see things that aren't real, or could hear things that aren't really going, that's not really audible, but they create this thing for you to hear. So no one around you will hear it. So those things are at place now. So I'm thinking like this whole current world also seems to be a hierarchy. And as many of you may have heard of David Icke. And yes, a lot of people may find his work problematic, but I notice other people, other researchers, they pretty much are saying the same thing as what David Icke is saying. And again, this hierarchy and how people are being influenced by something else and these controls, and how these things from outside are invading our space, and again, the different sizes. And look at the people in history, like you notice with the royal families. So I'm thinking with this video, again, the different hierarchies and the sizes. You see how tall these royal people are? They're tall. And then you look at the people where humanity is supposed to originate from. They're extremely tiny, tiny, tiny people. And so you just look at that. Look at planet Earth and look at who is in charge. And I hate to say it like that, but call things as they are, rather than try to sugarcoat it. I'm not trying to be pejorative or insulting. I'm just being descriptive. You have people on this planet who are big, who are very tall, and where I live, you have a lot of tourists. So you have people from all over the world that come to New York City. You see all types of people. I've seen people that are real, real tall, and they seem to have, some of them have a lot of presence to them. And then you see people who are extremely tiny, tiny people, just barely hitting 5 feet. And then you see how they seem to be. And maybe it's patronizing. We associate things that are tinier as childlike, and things that are taller or bigger as being more adult-like. So I don't mean to come across that way, that maybe I'm saying someone is childlike and another is more adult-like. Again, I'm just giving an observation about different types of peoples and how we may perceive one another. And so how I'm seeing this new reality, that maybe those people, those real big people, their genetics comes from somewhere else. And I think, now based on what genetics is showing, like if I didn't complete my thought before about the very tiny people on this planet, on planet Earth, that the geneticists were saying that you have a particular people, and it's the Khoisan people. I think it's spelled Khoisan, and it's a component of two particular tribes. One tribe is called the Khoi, and the other one's called the Sans. But scientists kind of group them together because socially and historically they're kind of like the same people, and they live amongst each other. And they just use the terminology Khoisans. And they are very tiny. They're I think 4.5 feet tall, very slender. Their skin color is like my color, like yellowish brown, but their eyes are different, like on a diagonal, and it's narrow. Scientists are saying that every human on this planet, that we know of today, genetically have what they have. So they're referring to an origin, that we all human beings are traced by this people. So the other people, they are mixed with something else. And do you notice that the big and the tall people on this planet are the ones that seem to be more of the, I'm just going to say what it is. They seem more of the aggressor, meaning they go into people's territory that look different than them, like places where the Khoisans live, or that's in southern Africa, or they go into Western Africa, East Africa, or South Asia. These darker or brown skin races that are in general very petite in stature, and where these taller people come from, they're in general very pale. They have blue eyes. Their hair is straighter than, let's say, someone from Southern Africa or West Africa. So there's a physical difference, and you can tell them apart right away. And it seems like this taller group that's more associated with Europe, Northern Europe, seems to spread its influence all over the world. And then the more tinier the group and browner, they're more at peace with this planet. So it seems to me that, if you're part of the land, you're not going to destroy your own home. You're going to be in harmony. You never hear of the Khoisans people with atomic weapons and just killing people like how the people in Nazi Germany did. You don't hear of things like that. They live in harmony with nature. But these groups that seem to me, with what I'm hearing, what I'm gathering with the Earth history, that the taller people are the ones that are mixed with something not from here. And so maybe they don't really have a love of the planet. And you notice now that they're putting GMOs into the food. What else? They create things that produce toxins to the air so you can't breathe. They create so-called medicines that destroy your organs so you die. So why is this? They're creating an atmosphere of death around them. So it seems to me that you have a foreign element that's living amongst us, they kind of look like some of us, but they're doing havoc. But it's not to say because someone is tall that they are violent. I'm taller than most people that I meet. I'm not that tall, but I'm taller, at least in New York City, I'm taller than most people that I meet. But I'm not a violent or aggressive person. So I'm not trying to say if you're a tall person, you're aggressive, and if you're short and petite, that you're friendly and you're pleasant. We've all seen all types of people, all sizes, and we have all types of behaviors. And yes, like especially now, because you have different mixing, you have different nations, and they mix with different things. Just like if you look in your own personal history, family history, you may have different nationalities, different races to some degree, and it created the current you. But I'm thinking that maybe these genetics that were introduced to this planet was introduced for a reason, and maybe this introduction was so they can navigate within the planet, and that then they could control. And so I think now what's happening, it's a controlling, because now, the earth is small in a sense that we have trains, planes, and you can get to locations so quickly. And now with satellite, so they can watch people, in seconds, and watch people from all the different parts of this planet at the same time, and thus have that central control over this planet. And they have a plan, it seems like. And I think it's getting out of hand. And now again, trying to tie in what I'm saying now to what was in that video done by the Farsight Institute, that something happened in the heavens. Something happened with beings from two different planets, not planet Earth, but two different planets. And one of those planets they believe was Mars, and some other planet, and that they had war with one another, and one of them blew up another planet. And so you have that we call astral belt of all this rubble and stuff, and it just got out of hand. And so I'm concerned with knowing about that and being told from that video that you had beings from other, who knows where, tapped into the people that's living on this planet and told them the history of what happened in the heavens, and they call it the Bible. And so they let these prophets or whatever to know about these events. Maybe it's to protect us. Say, hey, don't do the same thing what they did, But for whatever reason, and again, those alleged happenings in the heavens happened before the stories in the Bible took place. So let's say that particular scripture in the book of Revelation happened, let's say, 10,000 years ago. But it was written only, around 2,000 years ago. So they felt it was important, for whatever reason back then, to let these people know that something happened. And again, some, I guess, a control. But maybe, again, that's part of the software indoctrinated us to believe certain things, because maybe again, just speculating, I don't know. But people tell people things for a reason. And so I believe those people that talk to the prophets, they knew why they were talking to them about, why would you talk to someone about something that happened eons ago if it didn't affect them? Right? So it's a reason. And I think whoever who was in control then and contacted those so-called prophets that we read about in the Bible are in control now. And that's what those institutions that you hear about, like the Bilderbergs meetings that they have every year. These are the heads up, and it seems like these heads are, again, might be related to the people from those other planets that had wars, and they mix with our genetics. And so those tall Nordic types, aka Nazis, control, and then the so-called lowly people, little brown and black skin races, are subjugated by them, and they're putting limitations on us. And now you have this chaos that's happening, that's building up. And I'm concerned that this buildup is going to result in a major war. And that I don't want. So I guess I'm giving this video to share with others on what could be happening and why you have the Bible. That the Bible's not about a mystical place where that doesn't really exist and it's just imagination, but are actual things, are actual intelligences that have influenced our history, and they are tangible, but they may not be physically here now, but they have just as much control. So I'm just saying, that we're to be in control of ourselves. See, I may not be able to control others, but I encourage all of you who watch this video to take control of yourself. See, when you have control over yourself, then they can't push you around the same way. It's up here is what they want to control. The body and stuff, the body is your body. But your mind, take control of your mind and try to get to know what your purpose in life is, rather than having your purpose based on somebody else, some being from some other world. Whether they made us, mixed with us, the indigenous people on this planet, it is what it is. Whatever it is, you are a sovereign being. Take control over your body and your mind. Respect your body and your mind, and start to say no to those things external to yourself that want to oppress you or control the way you think and make you believe in a particular history that's not a part of yours. But they want you to believe in what they believe in. Believe in yourself. In a nutshell, with all this information, believe in you, yourself. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I enjoyed their video, and I think I want to watch it more than once and really explore yourself. Explore the power that's within you. Start introducing meditations, and before every meditation, ask for protection. Maybe your subconscious mind is going to, you tell your conscious mind, you say, I want to do this or that. I ask for a shield of protection that no harm will befall me, and then you tell I want to know this or that, and what's in a line for the good of yourself and respects other people's privacy. And maybe the universe, or whatever what you want to call it, will reveal certain things to you for your protection, for your edification. Yet always give a prayer of protection, because when you open up yourself energetically, spiritually, whatever what you want to call it, prayerfully, it's opening a door, a spiritual door. And with like any door that's open, anything could walk in. And that's what I'm talking about, to prevent just anything coming in. Keep that like that screen door open so nothing would fly in, if you get what I mean. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye and enjoy your day. And yes, feel free to comment below, to share my video with friends, family members who you think would enjoy this subject, and to subscribe to my channel and to give me a thumbs up. Take care and enjoy your Sunday. Bye-bye.